If you're a promotional products company and your link profile looks like this, or your domain authority score looks like this, then this video is made for you. We're going to be covering everything from choosing keywords, selecting URLs, performing a competitor gap analysis, and shortlisting link opportunities for your business. And at the end, I'm going to show you some specific link building strategies that I've personally had success with in building authoritative links for promotional products companies. Keep in mind that this video will be very in-depth and time-consuming, but I promise you, if you stick with me, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly how many links you need, the authority levels of those links, and what your anchor text profile should look like for your target keywords. It's important to note that as a prerequisite to building links, you should have already squared away your technical site performance, resolved any technical issues, optimized your content, and that you have enough topical authority to be able to rank for your target keywords. It's very, very important to tick those boxes off first, because if you don't, you may be over-investing in link building strategies and you likely won't see the results that you're after. So if you're ready to start improving your promotional product company's domain strength and start ranking higher for the keywords that are important to you, then let's get into it. Alrighty, just before we jump into the specific steps for this process, I want to take a moment to quickly walk you through this Google Sheet that will be populating for each step. Now, basically all I've done is separated each step into individual tabs to make it easier for us to follow. And the other thing I've done is chosen a random promotional products company that I can run through this process with. So basically, if we jump into SEMrush, all I've done is gone into page 3 and I've chosen this promotional products company called Chili Promotions. This is their website here, and it looks like they have a fairly strong backlink profile. So I thought this would be a good one to get us started with. And that's pretty much it. So we'll jump into step 1. For step number 1, we're going to be selecting the primary keywords and pages that we want to rank higher for in the search results page. Now, like I mentioned, at this point, you should already know what your primary keywords are and which URLs you want to rank them for. It's a very important preliminary step because you don't want to jump into link building before you're sure of your keyword mappings, because you could potentially be wasting resources on keywords that don't actually need a ton of backlinks to rank for. Now, with that in mind, because I'm using a random promotional products company to run through this process with, I'm actually going to be selecting keywords at random, just ones that I think they could improve performance on. So if you open up SEMrush, I'll show you the 2 keywords that I'm going to run through this process with. The first one is promotional items, where they rank in position 14. The next one is branded pens, where they rank in position 12. Both of these keywords have commercial search intent, so they are very valuable to this business. And by being able to rank in the top 10, they should be able to drive some really good qualified traffic. So we're going to jump into the Google Sheet here. We're in the target keywords tab, and I'm going to start filling this out for the first keyword, which is promotional items. The ranking URL is this one here, which is the home page. The current position is 14. The average DA, we're going to need to open up the keyword overview tab. So I'll open this up in a new tab, and we can see that the average DA for the top 10 ranking results is 26. So we'll copy that in. Now for the lowest DA, we're going to need to do a bit of manual analysis, and it's pretty straightforward. We're just looking to identify the website with the lowest DA that's ranking in the top 10 results. Now in this case, we can see it's position number 5. This site has an authority score of 9. So we'll plug that into here. Now our DA, ideally you should already know this if it's your website. Now because this is a random site, I'm just going to try and find it in the results here. And grab that from here. So they have a domain authority score of 21. For average RDs, that's talking about the number of referring domains that the top 10 results have on average. Now, this is actually going to be a manual process. So we're going to manually calculate the number of referring domains that the top 10 results have. So you'll need to click on the URL tab here, because we are going to be looking at this from a page level, and we're going to be looking at the referring domains column. So we'll add these up and average it out across 10. And this gives us the average RD of 68.4. And we'll round this up to 70 and put that into this column. Now for our RDs, it's a similar process as before. We'll just find our URL and we'll get that number from here. So that's 95. And this last column, the anchors to avoid, we're going to leave that blank for now because this is reliant on the data that we find from step number 2. So we'll leave this blank. Now, with this data alone, we can start to get some really useful insights. So for starters, we can see that our domain authority score is 21. The lowest DA is 9. So that's a positive sign for us. That means that we have enough authority to be able to rank in the top 10. Now, with the average DA, that's 26. So there's a bit of a gap there. Ours is 21, so there's 5 points difference there. So we'll mark that as red. There's definitely a gap there that we can fulfill. Now, with average RDs, our RDs are actually higher. So that's a really positive sign again. So from this data, we can see that the actual gap lies in our overall domain profile. We can see that the overall strength of the domain is a little bit lower than what the average is for this particular keyword. And you want to repeat this process for all of your keywords. I'm just going to do this one as an example, but you want to repeat this for all the keywords that you've shortlisted before you head into step number 2. In step number 2, we're going to be reviewing some key data points from the top ranking competitors for each of our shortlisted keywords. And we're going to be working within the second tab here titled Quantitative Competitor Analysis. You'll see that there's 3 tables here, but you will need to make a copy of the table for every single keyword because we are going to be working within 1 keyword per table. Now, for this example, I'm going to be using the keyword promotional items again, and I'm going to show you how you can fill out each of these columns here. And essentially what we're looking to do here is review the link profiles of the strongest domains that are ranking in the top 10 results for this keyword. And we're going to be drilling it down by authority scores, and we're also going to review the anchor text profile. And essentially what this will do is give us some really key data points that we can use to guide our link building strategy in the next steps. You'll see that I've pre-filled 3 URLs here, and these are basically the domains with the strongest link profiles. Now, if we jump into SEMrush, I'll quickly show you how you can choose these domains. You want to be looking at the top 10 ranking results, and under the referring domains column, simply choose the domains with the highest number of referring domains. So in this case, the highest is Express Promo, followed by Promotions Warehouse, and then Vistaprint. So these are the 3 that I've inputted into this section here. Now we're going to be drilling down into the authority scores of their individual link profiles. So starting with Express Promo, if we jump into SEMrush, what we want to do here is right click on the number of referring domains and open that in a new tab. And this will give us a breakdown of their total link profile. And we're going to add a filter for link attributes, and we want to select follow links only for this analysis. And then we're simply going to be choosing authority scores. So we want to look at the different ranges and the number of backlinks in each range. So starting with 0 to 10, this will give us a total number of links that fall into this range, which is 74. So we'll put that into the 0 to 10 range. And then 11 to 20, we'll simply select the next one down, which is 30. So we'll put that in. 21 to 30, again, we'll select the next one down, and gives us 26. So I'll keep running through this until we've pre-filled out all of these rows. Now that we have all of these data points, we also want to get the total number of referring domains. So we can simply add these up using the function. So we'll just select them and then choose sum, and we'll see that there's 135 total referring domains for this domain. Now for the DA, we can also get this from SEMrush. So if we head back into the top 10 ranking results for Express Promo, we can see the authority score is 50. Now for anchor text, we'll head back into the referring domain section, and we're simply going to click on the anchors tab. And I'll quickly give you a brief explanation as to what we're looking for here. So exact match anchors refers to any anchors that have the keyword exactly within the anchor. So for example, in this case, if the anchor was exactly promotional items, that would be an exact match. If it contained those terms but in a different order or slightly different variants, then it would be phrase match. So jumping back into SEMrush, we're going to look for instances of exact match and phrase match anchors for this keyword. So this is the entire anchor text profile, and we'll filter it down by our primary keyword. And we can see that it returns 3 anchors that contain that term. This first one here we can see is actually an exact match because it's the exact keyword and nothing else. So we've got one domain there. So we'll put that into exact match. And then with phrase match, these two here, they contain the term, but there's other terms in there as well. So we'll simply add these up, which is 3 referring domains. Now, because we want the percentage of exact match and phrase match anchors, we're going to do a manual calculation to work this out. So we'll simply calculate what that percentage looks like based on the total number of referring domains. So we can see that the exact match distribution is about 0.74%. We'll round this up to 1%, so we'll leave that as it is. Now with phrase match, we have 3, so we'll calculate the percentage again based on the total number of referring domains, and it gives us about 2.2%. So we'll round that up to 3% as well. So these two can remain as is. And then we're going to repeat this process for each of these URLs here. Okay, now that we've filled out the rows for each of the URLs, I've also gone ahead and averaged out the columns for each authority level and the anchor text distribution. So now what we want to do is look at our ranking URL and repeat the same process. So we want to get the same data points and it will compare our stats with the average. I've gone ahead and filled out this information for our URL as well. Now, what we want to do is look through the averages and start to pinpoint where the gaps are in terms of our link profile's authority levels versus the average. So starting with 0 to 10, we can see that the average is 72, ours is 26. So there's quite a bit of gap there. So we'll highlight this one in red. Next one, 11 to 20, average is 15, ours is 10. So there is a bit of a gap there as well. I'll highlight that in orange because it's not as substantial. 18 versus 12, again, bit of a gap. 4 versus 2, again, there's a gap there. The average for 41 to 50 is 1, so we actually are winning in that area, so I'll highlight that in green. And then again, we're above the average of 51 to 60. 61 to 70, we're definitely above the average there. And then the rest are all zeros, so we'll leave that as white. And then the total number of referring domains, the average is 111 and ours is 59. So quite a bit of a gap there. And then average CA is 28 and ours is 21. So again, a bit of a gap there. Now, when it comes to anchor text, the main reason we do this is to give us a threshold for how aggressive we can be with our anchor text distributions. In this case, our URL actually is not using any exact or phrase, which is actually a good thing because it means that we do have some leeway there to be able to be a little bit more aggressive with how we're structuring our anchor text. Now, if we look through this, it gives us a really nice overview as to where we sit in terms of the competition. And more importantly, it gives us the specific authority levels that we need to look to build links in. Now, this is important because it doesn't actually mean that we need to start acquiring really high authority links, because we can see that there's actually no competitors that have links above a DA of 71. So we know that in order to rank higher for this and to meet this gap, we need to be looking at backlinks within this sort of 0 to 40 range. 0 to 10 links are very easy to acquire even naturally. So this isn't a cause for concern. And these ones here, we can see the gap isn't massive. So we can start to work through this and increase the number of backlinks within these authority scores. And the relative investment to get these sort of links will be quite a bit lower than targeting high quality links. And we can also see that we actually do have a higher number of higher authority links than the competition. So in terms of the gaps, it's actually not too big. with a little bit of concentrated effort in where we acquire these links from, and we know there's opportunities with anchor text to be a little bit more aggressive there, we can start to build up relevance and improve our overall domain score. Jumping into step number 3, where we're going to be reviewing the existing backlink profile as well as an analysis of the anchor text distribution. This is pretty straightforward. So the first thing we're going to do is export out a list of all of the existing backlinks. And to do this, we're going to head into SEMrush, click into the backlinks analytics section, put in your domain name, and then select follow links. And we're going to simply export this list out. Once the export is completed, we're simply going to copy all of the data in this sheet, and we're going to paste it into the existing backlinks tab within this Google Sheet that we're working in. Once this data is pasted in, we're going to start to do some basic analysis on this link profile just to assess its overall strength and any areas of improvement. We'd want to flag it at this point. So we're going to start with the anchor column here. I've got this sorted from A to Z just so we can start to group the similar anchors together. And at this point, really all I'm looking to see is, are there any instances of over optimization in the anchors? Or are there any unnatural anchors that could potentially be detrimental to the link profile? So as we scroll down, we've got quite a few empty anchors here, and we'll have to scroll down a fair bit to actually get to the anchor texts. Now, starting from here, initially what I'm seeing is a lot of repeated anchors and quite a few dated looking anchors. So for example, here we've got quite a number of anchors here that are using the text 2021 within this anchor. It definitely doesn't look natural because you're using this very specific phrase along with the brand name for multiple different sites. Now, I'm sure as we scroll across, a lot of these will be low quality sites that are linking to it. We can see that the authority score is 0 for most of these. So immediately there's a couple of issues here that we would want to resolve. And then as we scroll down, we can kind of see repeated instances of the same issue there. Again here and pretty much throughout as we scroll down, there's a lot of over optimization with the anchor text, multiple different keywords stuffed into it, and this just doesn't look natural at all. So huge areas of concern there. And as we scroll down, there's just so many instances of these repeated anchors. And it's also an issue because it's going to be causing instances of keyword cannibalization for the site as well, which we obviously won't be reviewing for the purposes of this video. But I'm sure in terms of title tags and category pages, there's probably a lot of instances of keyword duplication. And yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot more to say about the anchor text profile here. It needs a lot of work to diversify these anchors and get it to a point where it looks natural. As we can see, this actually isn't too bad, assuming they are coming from high quality links, and these look like forum links. But yeah, using the brand URL typically isn't a bad thing. It's just if they are coming from reputable sites, that's kind of what we're after. So yeah, it seems to be the case throughout as we go down this list that the anchor text needs a lot of work. It seems to be a site-wide issue where there's a lot of repeated anchors. So I won't get into that too much. Obviously, that's a huge issue there, so we'll flag that. And then the other thing I want to look at is just the source URLs. I like to do a bit of a manual analysis to see where the links are coming from. Obviously, repeated links coming from the same site usually is a red flag, especially if it is a low authority site. We can see a lot of Web 2.0s here, which probably would have been built a long time ago. Not having a detrimental impact to the site most likely, but definitely not having any benefit in keeping those there. And as we scroll down, we can see that there's just an abundance of these Web 2.0 links, and probably it dominates the whole link profile because I still haven't been able to see any really good quality editorial links coming through. We'll need to do a bit of a manual analysis of the URLs themselves, just running them through SEMrush and seeing the quality of those links. But yeah, we can see that when we look at the page authority scores that there really aren't any reputable sites that are sending through these links. Overall, from a site strength perspective, the link profile really doesn't look all that good. It obviously needs a lot of work, both in terms of the quality of the links, the relevance, and then the anchor text, as we touched on, needs to be diversified a fair bit. So a lot of work to be done there. At this point, all we want to do is flag these issues just so that when we get to building links, we know what we need to resolve. Getting into step number 4, where we're going to be performing a link gap analysis against our top competitors, which means that we're going to head back into SEMrush and look through our competitor link profiles. The difference here is at this point, we're going to be pinpointing specific links that our competitors have acquired that our website doesn't already have. And from that shortlist, we're going to refine it down further based on relevance, authority, and the ease at which we can also acquire those links. So let's jump into SEMrush and we're going to head into the backlink gap section. And the first URL you want to put in is your own website. Now, at this point, it'll be good if you do know who your most relevant competitors are, because you'll be able to get a better output in terms of the relevance of the links that this backlink gap analysis uncovers. Now, because this isn't one of our clients' site, we're actually going to be choosing competitors based on what SEMrush is suggesting. So I'll add in about 3 different competitors so that we can get a nice sample size, and then we'll click on Find Prospects. And like I said, this will give us a list of all of the unique links that these sites have that our site doesn't already have. And we're going to be refining this list further just through manual analysis. So this is a list of domains that SEMrush has come up with. It's about 1,550 links. What we're going to do here is we're going to shorten this out a little bit. So we'll remove anything that's under a DA of 20. So we'll see how much that refines it by. And we can see that brings it down to 132. So that's a lot more manageable. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to export this list out and then we're going to review it in a Google Sheet. So I'm going to paste in the output of the link gap analysis here. And I'm just going to freeze this top row so that we can easily see what we're working with. Now, I just want to refine this list a little bit more just so it's realistic in terms of what we can acquire. And I want to make sure that the links that we're going after are relevant and authoritative enough that it's worth the effort for us to acquire those. Now, first thing I want to do is just do a manual analysis through the domain names. And I'm going to sort this domain authority score from highest to lowest, just so we can see the most authoritative links at the top. Now, typically, a lot of these links here will not be easy to acquire. They may potentially be through partnerships, or they may just be subdomain links. We're not 100% sure at this point, so I'm just going to start flagging the ones that I think will need a little bit more investigation before we start to go after them. Some of these really high-end publications typically won't be easy to acquire, especially these .edu links. So I'm going to start to flag some of these that may not be possible for us to acquire. Just going through this list, most of these do look like legitimate sites that we'd want to try and acquire for this client. As we go down, I'm just going to try and exclude anything that's irrelevant or just doesn't make sense for the industry that the site's in. But just having a look through these, a lot of these do look like really high quality links, and they look relevant enough for us to include in our list of prospects. So just a quick manual analysis. Obviously, when we get out to the outreach process, we'll do more of an analysis on individual domains just to look at their metrics to see if they are legitimate, if they're relevant, and if we can get a decent placement on those. But for now, I'll leave this list as it is, and we have just over 100 prospects here that we could potentially go after. Alrighty, so you've made it to the final step of this process, and this is the fun part because this is where we're going to look at specific link opportunities and ideas that you can use to start to build out your link profile. Now, I've put together some suggestions here that I've found have worked really well for promotional product company sites. Obviously, you've also got your link gap analysis where you can review specific link opportunities from competitors. But for the purposes of this step, I'm going to be focusing on things that have worked in my own experience for promotional product companies And I'm going to start with this bottom one first because this is by far the most common way to build links. And it actually has been overdone to a point where you need to be very careful with how you approach this. So we're talking about pitching guest posts on relevant publications. I've put in a time investment and impact column. Obviously, for guest posting, it does require a high amount of time investment. There's a lot of work involved, and not to mention you also have to write the content. The impact can vary. Sometimes you can land placements on really authoritative sites, but most frequently I find that a lot of websites will guest post on low relevance, low authority, and potentially even spammy sites, which does more harm than good for your link profile. Now, I will mention that most guest post sites do require payment on top of the content as well. And usually, if they are asking for a payment, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and actually reviewing the domain profile itself to make sure that it's not a link farm or it's not a PBN. You want to make sure that you are getting a quality link if you are paying for it. And believe me, there's more bad players in the industry when it comes to guest posts than good ones. So like I said, be really careful with this. Now, I have given an example here of each of the link opportunities I'm providing. With this one here for guest posts, it's actually a really solid way to try and build links. Now, Paperform is a really strong site. We jump into SEMrush, we can see that they have an authority score of 45. Their traffic has always been consistent and actually on the rise. A lot of backlinks, a lot of paid search traffic, and organic search traffic. So this is a really, really solid link profile. Obviously, the stronger the domain, the more difficult it will be for you to acquire links. The other thing is, for most authoritative publications, they're after relevance and content quality over payment. So you'll find that they won't actually ask you for payment for most of the high-end publications, but they will be very, very thorough with who they select and the type of content that they accept. So the scale of difficulty is a lot higher, but the rewards are also very high as well. So this example here, it's simply just a guest writer form. So you would need to pitch to them. You would need to provide all your details. And again, the more effort you put into it, the better the outcome will be. So that's just an example there. Guest posting is a very simple way to build links. Just make sure you're doing your due diligence and you are approaching sites that are authoritative enough for your effort to pay off. Now, jumping into the top here, these are some ideas that are a little bit more unique and specific to promotional product companies that, there's a lot of opportunity there, and most competitive players aren't actually doing this as well. So there's definitely opportunities there. So with this first one here, the suggestion is to build an awards program where businesses can earn badges in various different categories. And then these badges can actually be embedded onto the business site with a backlink back to your site. So pretty simple concept. In terms of execution, it will require a high amount of time investment because you're going to need to design these badges. You're going to need to come up with the ideas behind all the categories. And then you're also going to need to actually outreach to businesses that you work with or have previously worked with to see if they'd be interested in participating in this program. But it's a great way to build natural links from reputable businesses. Obviously, you'd want to double check that the businesses you are reaching out to do have websites that they frequently update and that they are quality sites. But even if they're not, even if they are low authority sites, it is a very natural way to build links. And again, when it comes to link profiles, we want to be doing things that come across as natural. We don't want to be over optimizing the link profile. So with this way, you can start to build out some really quality links, and especially if you do work with large businesses. And then there's an example here of some badges that Clutch.io, which is a very big company here in Australia, they have really pioneered this badges program, and we can see some examples here. But there's so many different ways you can approach this and really get creative with how you want to build this out. but it's a great way to build some natural links. And again, it's not something that most competitors are doing. Jumping into the second one, which is to build a scholarships program where university students can apply for your scholarship. And then you can simply outreach to universities that have external scholarships pages. There's an example here of a university that does have external scholarships. A lot of them do, some of them don't. So you'll need to do some manual review. But for example, this one here was actually one that a competitor site already has from the one that we were reviewing, which means that it is possible to get placements on these really authoritative .edu sites. You just need to build out a scholarship page and obviously work on how you're going to approach that program. It does need to be legitimate. So you do need to have an actual offering that is awarded to a student. And then you can simply outreach to universities pretty much across Australia that have these external pages, find out what their requirements are, and just refine your program and try and get placements on those pages. This is a great way to build really quality .edu and potentially even .gov links. You just need to do a fair bit of research to find out which sites actually accept these external links. Now, the third one here is to sponsor local events or sports clubs. Obviously, choose sites that do contain outbound links to their sponsor sites. Pretty straightforward. The time investment's fairly medium. But the impact is also low because a lot of these local sports club sites don't tend to have very authoritative sites. A lot of them don't even update their sites that frequently. So again, you'll need to do your research and come up with a list that is high authority enough and has a decent amount of traffic that you could also tap into. Again, there's an example here that you could have a look at, just a local club in Marrickville, and they do have a sponsor page. So this is what you want to look out for. Make sure that they do place the sponsor links. You can click into it and head to the site, and that way, when you're doing your outreach, you know which sites to target, and you basically just need to find out what their minimum investment is and go from there. This next one is to reach out to authors of list roundups for the best promotional product companies, or really different types of list roundups around your industry, and ask about placing your site. Now, this is assuming that you do have a reputable site and you have a reputable business. It'll be very difficult for you to get on these lists if you don't already have a brand presence. But if you do have that and you've been around for quite a while, this is a great way to get some links from high-end publications and editorial quality links that will pass on some decent link equity to your site. As an example, this one here. This is a blog post where they've talked about the 17 best promotional product companies. You've got the author details there as well as her LinkedIn. So this would be a fairly easy way to outreach and ask about their requirements to be listed on here. Obviously, you'll need to have a relevant business. They are specifically talking about businesses that sell a wide range of promotional products. But again, teambuilding.com is a very, very strong site with a very high number of organic traffic. So great way to try and acquire that link there. Now, this next one here is relatively low impact, but it's also very low time investment. And that is to submit your site to relevant business directories under the promotional products or small business category. This really is very simple to do. You can basically just do a Google search for local directories. These sort of links are typically very, very low impact. Most directories aren't used as often anymore. They don't drive a lot of traffic, and a lot of them do have fairly low authority scores as well. But if it is relevant and you do find one that has a promotional products category, then it can be beneficial. And obviously, like I said, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do it. You basically just need to submit your business information and simply get a link back from them. There's an example there, Pure Local. It's a fairly large directory that you can very easily get onto, but do keep in mind that a lot of these directories will have annual fees for you to get listed on. So you'll just need to weigh up the benefits versus the cost in that case. Now, this next one is to create content assets around general small business marketing and outreach to sites for niche edits. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did mention that the promotional products industry is probably one of the most difficult ones to acquire backlinks for because it is so niche. Any sites that do specifically focus on promotional products will also sell promotional products. And so naturally, they're not going to be linking to other promotional product companies as they are competing with you. So you want to broaden your scope here and start to look at more small business marketing blogs or websites that touch on marketing topics more broadly. And that's a better way and more scalable way for you to attract links to your promotional products website. So in this case, essentially what you'd be doing is building content assets that are a little bit broader than just promotional products. So you could touch on small business marketing or offline marketing ideas. So they should still be related to promotional products, but not specifically about just specific types of promotional products. And I see this a lot where most promotional product companies will only churn out content that's specifically about their products. And it really just doesn't read like a blog that would get natural links from other sites. So don't fall into that trap, broaden your scope, try and build content that is relatable for other industries as well, while still touching on your most important products or categories. And then essentially you just need to outreach to those sites to get niche edits. Now, niche edits are simply just link insertions into existing articles or pages. So you want to make sure that your page is relevant and doesn't directly compete with the page that you are requesting a link from. And obviously make sure that the content is quality and that you do have a good angle for why you're approaching them for that link. And here's an example of a piece of content that is broad enough that you could target a variety of small business, sort of HR targeted company blogs, and try and get a link to your content. And obviously you will have placed internal links to your category pages within this content to pass on that page rank. So fairly simple way to attract niche edits. Keep in mind that this will most likely have a cost, so you'll need to cover an editorial fee for most sites. And you also need to create this content. So the time investment will be fairly high, but you should be able to get some impactful sites just depending on how much outreach you do. This is a numbers game, so you will need to spend a fair bit of time on outreach for most of these ideas. Now, this last one here is to partner with local event companies. So essentially, you'd become a supplier for their event merch and then asked to be listed on their site as a supplier. So fairly straightforward idea. You would need to do research into your local area as to the different event companies and see how you can offer something of value or a different unique angle to try and partner with them and potentially become their supplier. And this is, again, an easy way to get listed on their supplier's page and have a backlink back to your page. This one here is actually a really extreme example, but there's a company here called the Promo Shop that has got a backlink from this university site, obviously very authoritative, and they looks like they've become their conference supplier, and they've got a backlink back to their homepage. So this is actually a really, really strong link that they've got. But it's applicable to a variety of different websites you could approach, in terms of event merch or event organizing sites, and try and build partnerships through there. And it's in a similar way to most of these ideas. We're looking at building natural links that make sense. It's very natural for your partners to link out to your site. So it make perfect sense, and you'd start to build a really natural looking link profile. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully that gives you some good ideas as to where to get started with your link building effort. Like I mentioned, most of these will require a fair bit of outreach, research, and potentially investment in terms of actually getting those links placed. But you'll be well on your way to building a strong, natural, and relevant link profile that will serve your website for years to come. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps you improve your domain strength and rank higher for the keywords that are important to your promotional products company. If you want to learn more about SEO for promotional product companies, please watch this video. It will give you an in-depth guide on how to get started with your SEO campaign.